I'm not gonna say it, but I think she was, yeah. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Julie. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're coming back, I'm glad to have you here. So today, if you notice from the title, I will be talking about my experiences working in fashion. This specific experience made me quit my job at the time. Like, I had to take a step back and realize, like, what do I want from this life? And disrespect is not one of them. You know, that's just something that I don't want in a corporate workspace, is to be disrespected and to be alienated. And it was just really that time for me to just take a step back. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of of what happened. And I'm gonna do my makeup simultaneously because I will try to multitask. I'm not the best at multitasking, but child, let's give it a go. Okay, let's set the scene. The year is, what year is it? 2018, I believe. Yeah, only 1 year into my fashion career at that point. I've always wanted to work in fashion. Like, that's something that has been a dream of mine since I was basically a child. I didn't know what I wanted to do in fashion. I just knew, like, being in that space was where I wanted to be, because creatively, I am a fashion girly to my heart, and to my core. So when I moved to New York, I went to FIT, yada, yada, yada. My first big girl job was with a really big fashion brand, a company that, if I said it, anyone would recognize it, right? Just to keep things a little bit anonymous, I'm just going to use fake names and not mention the company's name at all either. So it's a group of us. We are all friends. We all started at the same time at this company. And so we bonded, basically trauma bonded at this company, and we all worked on the same team, right? NPR. We all got close over the year. And then it came to a point where, like, the company was was being bought or being acquired by another company. So they, at the time when they hired all of us, we were only temporary. We couldn't be hired as full-time. That's fine, right? So when the opportunity came, when the, acquisition was closed, it came to a point where they had to make a decision within the team and decide who they wanted to keep full-time and who they didn't, basically. So out of all of us, it was about a group of four of us that got hired at the same time. Out of all of us, only 2 of us stayed to get hired as full-time to stay on the team. And then the other 2, one was like one of my closest friends at the company, and love her. Let's call her Amy. So Amy was working her butt off, and she wanted to get hired full-time. She was like, she's been like putting in extra time. She's been, dotting her I's, crossing her T's, making sure that, like, whatever she was doing was going to impress the higher ups in order for her to get hired as a full-time employee, right? So the time came to evaluate all of us and see who would stay and who would go. And I got offered a position. Basically, my senior manager sat down with me and she was like, we want to offer you the position. Hey, the acquisition's over. Let's, finalize your paperwork, yada, yada. This is the starting salary. This is, just all the hoopla, the hoops that you have to go through in corporate when it comes to going from a temp to, like, a full-time employee, right? When it came to her time, her manager was like, yeah, we're still discussing it. We're still, like, obviously we're on the same team, but we have different managers. I was like, I was a different part of the team and she was a different part. Like, we handle different workloads, let's say that, and different sectors of PR. So her manager basically told her, hey, we're still discussing this. We don't know yet, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're still trying to figure out the logistics of things, trying to keep her on board and keep her engaged, to have her think, okay, like, I'm in the shoe, like, I'm shoe-in for this position. It's just they're working out the details. Mind you, I'm already offered my position. We're on the same team, different department, same department, different team, same team. And they're still trying to figure out what's going to happen with her. But I already got offered my position, right? So there was this particular week where, for some reason, they were holding interviews, right? I didn't know why they were holding interviews. My friend didn't know they were holding interviews, but we would see like young girls come in and out of our VP's office, and we're just like, oh, why are they coming in and out of the office? Like, they don't work here. They were like, you know, they looked like they were coming in for an interview. And we just, you know, we would have these places, we would call them CCs. We'd be like, guys, we need a CC stat, which is basically just like get the scoop, to gossip a little bit, you know, get away from our desk, have some privacy, and talk about the shit that's going on. So one day, basically that same day, when we saw girls coming in and out of the office, me and my friends were like, guys, we need CC stat. So we go to the closet and we're chatting, and we're like, why is there, you know, people coming out of our VP's office? Let's call our VP Susan. Susan's office. Like, this is kind of crazy, right? Like, do you think they're interviewing for so-and-so's role, or for Amy's, supposedly the open position for Amy? Do you think that they are interviewing for that role? In my head, I'm like, obviously they're interviewing, right? But I didn't want to say that because I didn't want to hurt Amy's feelings, because she was working so hard, you know, to get that position. And we left that like CC basically saying, you know, we don't know, let's not read into it too much. It could happen, it could not happen. Let's just keep going about our jobs. And that's exactly what we did. And then a week later, Amy's manager basically announces to us that they are hiring a new girl for the open position that Amy wanted. Amy's manager, let's call her Marcy. Marcy announces that there's a new position open. We obviously know there's a position open, and that they've hired someone to come for it. Mind you, Marcy's been telling Amy, oh yeah, like, we don't know what we're doing yet, da da da. Like, keeping her in the dark, but also keeping her like working hard to make her feel like, hey, you have this job. Don't worry, you have the job. We're just finalizing the details. But turns out she did not have the job, and basically they hired someone else. And then Marcy goes and tells Amy. Marcy's the manager. Amy is my friend on the team who's been working for the job. Basically, Marcy tells Amy that, hey, the new girl starts on so-and-so date. When she starts, I need you to train her. That's when Amy was like, fuck no. Absolutely not. You got me fucked up. Like, she was not having it. She said yes, right, to her face, but like in her, she's like, absolutely fucking not. I'm not training her for the position that I'm supposed to have. What some backwards shit did that, you know? That's actually very backwards. She told Amy that, hey, you can actually keep your current position. You can still work here. You're just not going to get the position that you wanted with higher pay and more benefits. No, you're actually going to stay where you are and train the new person for the position that you basically wanted. And she was obviously upset with this idea. But anyways, she had no choice but to train the new girl. The day comes when the new girl comes in and she's training her. After she trains the new girl, right, because she wanted to stay, that's when they let Amy go. Like, after she's trained her, they was like, oh, your position's no longer available. Or they gave her some bullshit excuse, basically saying that she no longer needs to work here, right? Like, that her position, that she's no longer an employee. Or she never really was an employee. She was a temp, but she no longer works at that company, right? And all that work that she did training the new girl is basically going down the toilet because, you know, the new girl is taking the job that she wanted, which honestly, that sucked. That really sucked. And they really did her dirty. It was another reminder to me, honestly, that these companies don't give up about you. Like, they actually don't care about you. They just care about making more money and getting the work done. They don't care who does it. It's like, also, if they like you, then you could stay longer, right? But at the end of the day, child, there's no guarantee. There's actually no guarantee. It's kind of crazy. They basically let her go, and she's not a full-time employee. I don't think she doesn't get like severance or anything like that, unfortunately. So she didn't plan to not have a paycheck or all this stuff, you know, like, so she was really bummed out about it. And honestly, so was I. So was I, because she was like one of my friends there. And honestly, in a workplace, it really matters who you work with, because they can really make the environment that much better or that much worse. Like, now it's not a whole new team, but you know, one new girl, and I want to be nice and, you know, try to like the new girl, but in my head I'm like, my loyalty is to Amy, but she's gone, you know, like I don't want to like be besties with the new girl, but she's here, so I gotta make it work. Fast forward, the new girl's here, Amy's gone, right? Fast forward a few months later, right? And Amy's actually doing much better off. Like, she's no longer working at the company, but she's like become a full-time influencer and makes like 5 times what she made working at the company. So I'm like, honestly, it was a blessing in disguise that she left, or she got fired, or whatever, that she was let go, because she's making more money. She's doing something that she actually loved to do. And I was like, go ahead, girl, do what you gotta do to make that coin, and on your own terms, not on anyone else's terms. All right. And so one day, this is months later, right after her departure, one day she's like walking by the building, right? And this is in New York City. So the building is really like, it's a huge building. Not everyone knows it, but like, this is where our headquarters are. And we have like few floors. There's like a lot of different buildings. I mean, companies that are in this buildings particularly. So she, I think, was in the area because she had some meetings nearby. And so she was like, hey girl, I'm by the office. If you're in, I would love to grab coffee and chat. Like, she texted me because obviously she's nearby. And I'm like, hey, actually it's my lunchtime. I would love to come by and take an hour off, because I'm allowed to, mind you, this is gonna come in handy later. I'm like, I'm allowed to take lunch, right? Like, I'm designated, and this company is crazy. Even though I was a full-time employee, I still had to like clock out my lunch. Like, we had like a machine that we had to punch in, which was ridiculous, but we had to punch in and punch out. So every time I came in, I had to punch in. Every time I left, I punched out. And every time I went off to lunch for an extended amount of time, like say a full hour, I punch out and punch back in, right? And so that's what I did that day. She was in the office. She was nearby. So I was like, hey, yeah, I'll definitely come by and grab a coffee with you. Let's chat, you know, kiki, whatever. As I'm leaving the building, I punch out, right? I'm leaving the building, going to the elevators. I see Marcy, which was Amy's manager. Still works there, right? But I particularly do not like this woman, like, at all. I never liked her from the job. Like, I think she didn't like me either. And yes, I was the only on the team. I was the only one. And she just did not like me. Don't know why. I did nothing to her. She's whatever. Anyways, so she sees me walking out of the building, right? I see her coming in. And as I'm walking out of the building, I see her, I get a text from Amy. Amy's like, oh shit, I just saw Marcy. And I was like, oh shit, I'm looking at her right now as I'm walking out of the building. She's like, I hope she doesn't put 2 and 2 together. I'm like, I mean, she's not an idiot. She's smart enough, right? Like, I think she would put 2 and 2 together, that we were close. It's obvious. I'm just going to say hi. It's no wrong in that. I clocked out. I'm doing my job. It's lunchtime. I can take a lunch, right? I go to lunch or whatever, and I just go to meet Amy, and we're chatting, we're giggling, you know, having a good time, whatever. And I'm like, hey girl, an hour has passed. Unfortunately, I have to get back to the grind that I don't really particularly like, but I had to get back there. And the environment has changed, you know, because I'm not kikiing with my friends anymore. I'm just like there I have to go back. It's been an hour, whatever. I go back. I clock back in. I sit at my desk. I start to do my work. Or no, before I sit at my desk, I'm walking to my desk and I see, what's her name? I see Marcy coming out of our VP Susan's office. And I'm like, she had this like smirk on her face too. Like this like, I don't know, evil, like villainy smirk on her face. And I was like, why is she, and then she direct eye contact with me. So I'm like, why is she giving me a look like that? That's kind of, it threw me back a little bit, right? But I was like, I'm not gonna read too much into it. I'm just gonna go back to my desk and do my work, mind my business. 10 minutes later, I get a text message from our VP, Susan, and she goes, Julie, can you come to my office, please? She doesn't come out of her office to tell me this. She personally texts me on my cell phone to tell me to come to her office. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll come to your office. I'm like, hi, Susan. You called for me? Blah, blah. You wanted to meet? Mind you, this woman has never had a one-on-one with me since I was hired. And it's been a year. It's been a year. And she has never had a one-on-one with me. Ever. It's only been like team meetings. Right? She doesn't even address me. She's also another person. Y'all, this is what's crazy. I was the only black person on the team. Only black person on the team. And multiple people did not like me for no reason whatsoever. I mean, my higher ups did not. Like, the only person who liked me was my senior manager. That's why she hired me. But the other ones never, like, addressed me. They were just, oh my God, rude. Anyways, she never had a meeting with me ever. So I was just, like, thrown back. And she was not nice. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of happy she doesn't have meetings with me because she just has this like bad energy. Honestly, I'm not gonna say it, but I think she was, yeah. I'm sitting in her office, right? And I'm like, oh, what is this about? I was like, oh, hey, Susan, you asked for me to come into the office, and I just didn't know what it was about. I was literally like scared shitless. I thought I was gonna get fired, y'all. I was like, oh my God, am I getting fired? Am I getting reprimanded? What did I do? Da, da, da. Like, so I'm scared shitless in this meeting, right? And she starts off the meeting saying something about my friend Amy, who left. She's like, you know, Amy has left the company, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, yeah, I know. She's like, I know you guys were super close. And I was like, yeah, we were. And in my head, I'm like, why are we talking about her? Why are we talking about Amy at work? She no longer works here. It's months later. And in my head, I'm like, you know what? That little B-word, Marcy. When she gave me that little evil conniving look, I'm like, oh. She came in here and she spoke with Susan about me and her meeting. She put two and two together. And she told Susan that I went and met with Amy. As if I was doing something wrong. So I'm like, okay, yeah. Me and Amy were close. Where are we getting with this, right? And she goes, she's like, you know, because Amy's an influencer, right? She posts a lot of pictures with, she's a fashion influencer. So she posted a lot of pictures with like clothes that she wears, like brands gifted her. So this particular brand company that we were working at, it was a fashion company, obviously. And we would get a lot of clothes from it. So she was basically saying, you know, we've seen Amy posting like with collections that are not in production, right? Things that we would, one-offs that we would get, but aren't fully in production yet or aren't for sale yet. And she's like, we are going to pursue legal action. I was like, whoa, legal action? Legal? For taking some clothes that aren't even going in production. I was like, okay. And my eyes are like, okay, that's crazy. But also, what does that have to do with me? Why is she telling me this information? If it's not about work, why are you telling me this, right? And in my head, I'm like, she's telling me this because she wants me to go back to Amy and be like, hey, girl, stop posting, da, 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 da. Like, they're going to pursue legal action, yada, yada, yada. which I'm still like, what is the benefit for them doing that? Like, it still didn't make sense to me. But I proceed with the conversation. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's kind of crazy, but okay. And she then proceeds to tell me that it'd be best for me, giving me advice on who I should be friends with. Like, bitch, this is work. Keep it professional. Professional. Leave it to that. But I digress. Then she proceeds to tell me it would be best for you not to associate yourself with her because we are pursuing legal actions. And I was like, oh, okay. That, respectfully, that's not, like, has anything to do with me. I haven't committed any crimes. She, in my opinion, has not committed any crimes. So I'm not sure why you are giving me advice on who I should be friends with. You've never talked to me. You don't know me at all. So why would you even say anything to me about my personal life? Like, I thought that was weird. And then she proceeds to tell me that she's like, I also know that you went to lunch with her. And I was like, yeah, I'm allowed to eat. I was like, I'm allowed to take a lunch break. I was like, I usually sit up. And mind you guys, I sit at my desk. When I worked at that job, I sat at my desk almost every day eating lunch. I never took a lunch break. One, I was hourly and didn't want to, and I wanted to keep the money. But two, I also was just like, I don't need to. And I was like, I had this like crazy work ethic back then where I was like, I want to prove myself and I want to work a little harder. So I would literally sit at my desk and eat my lunch. And so I was just concerned on why she even brought this up, because I never, like, I never take a lunch break, right? And she's like, you know, I know you went to lunch with her, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I just grabbed a coffee, you know, to catch up because she was in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, who told you this, bitch? Obviously, it's that Marcy bitch who came in here with that evil ass smile. Anyways, and then she was like, you know, you're not allowed to take a lunch break. She looked me dead in my eyes. Dead in my eyes. And told me that I am not allowed to take my legally required lunch break by law. Honestly, in that moment, all I could do was laugh. I literally, in her face. And then she's like, what's so funny? Girl, I almost lost it. I was like, ain't no fucking way. Ain't no way someone is going to sit in my face, especially my manager or supervisor, VP, I don't care who you are. You're not going to tell me I'm not allowed to eat my lunch. Well, most days I sit at my desk, and most of the time you and the other senior managers are off for 3, 4, 5 hour lunches. But I'm not saying anything. I'm not reporting you. No. Because what? You're my boss, so I'm not gonna say anything. But I can't have an hour one day out of months. I can't have an hour to go have lunch outside of the building. You've lost it. You've lost it, and you've lost to me. I literally laugh in her face, and she's like, what's so funny? And I'm like, what you just said is funny, because I was like, legally I'm required to take a lunch break. I just don't most days. But I'm like, it's not, I'm like, legally I am allowed to take a lunch break. And she's like, no, I spoke to HR this morning. You're not allowed to take a lunch break. Actually, I was like, I laughed again. I was like, okay, if you say that, because that's a lie. We all know you're lying. So keep it up, ma'am. Keep it up. And obviously at that point, because I was laughing and not taking her seriously, she was pissed at me. She literally was mad at me. And I genuinely came in that meeting not understanding what the topic of conversation was going to be. And I left flabbergasted, because why are we talking about someone who doesn't work here anymore, who happens to be my friend? And then why are you telling me I'm not allowed to eat? Me? One thing I'm going to do is eat, and you're not going to stop me. If anything, I wish, because that would have been my moment. I wished I came into that meeting with my phone on record, because I would have got her, and I would have got millions. I would have got so much fucking money. I've always said this in the past, and I say this to anybody who I ever meet. when I get to the point of like getting to know me, I always have said, I just need one company, one person to do me dirty so I can sue and I can be set. That would have been my freaking moment if I had like video or audio proof, because it's only she said, he said, you know what I mean? Like if I had video proof, audio proof that she said to me, I'm not allowed to have lunch, and then she quoted HR, y'all be rolling in dough. At this moment, I would be rolling in dough. But missed opportunities. Anyways, after I laugh in her face, she goes and she tells me that from now on, because I have so much time, to have lunch for an hour, that now she's going to personally see what I'm going to be, what my tasks are for each day, and make sure that I'm actually working. Again, I'm a workaholic. At the time, I was a workaholic and I wanted to prove myself. And so I did always work a lot and I cared about everything that I did. And so this was a huge magnifying glass underneath my ass. And so she proceeds to tell me in this meeting, now that I have so much time, I'm going to need to personally, don't even tell nobody. I can't even tell anybody else or send it to anybody else, that I have to every day send her an email stating my to-do list, what I have to do, and when it needs to be completed, right? All of my tasks, because mind you, I had a lot of tasks and I was pretty good at getting things done. I would have projects I would work on and then like daily things that I would be working on. And she's like, I need that every day. And I was like, okay, fine. And then also on top of that, she wanted me to personally email her every day WWD, which is Women's Wear Daily. On it, every single day they send out a newsletter basically with any fashion news. And so she wanted me to personally send that to her. This woman has a subscription. It comes to her inbox already. But no, she wants me to send it to her too on top of that. And then she wanted me to scour the internet on top of that and see any other relevant fashion news and send it to her. Things that might be relevant. Just send it to her. Just to make my life there a little bit worse. Honestly, my first step should have been going to HR. I didn't do that. I just simply agreed and I said, okay. Because, you know, as a black woman, especially a dark-skinned black woman, in the corporate space and especially in fashion, PR, a lot of people don't know this, but there aren't many black women who work in PR, period, one. And there aren't many dark-skinned black women who work in PR, two. And there aren't many dark-skinned women who work at big name in-house fashion brands. There aren't, right? So I do consider myself lucky to have had these experiences. Not that one, not this one specifically. I could have done without it. But I'm lucky to have had that name on my resume because it did open doors to future brands that I've worked with. I can genuinely sit here and say that. So the last thing I wanted to do was be defiant, right? I didn't want to sit there, argue, or cause a scene, or even just be the slightest bit aggressive, because one little micro centimeter or micromillimeter, let's say that, if you give them that, they will take hundreds of miles. And so I couldn't give anything. And I knew this in the back of my head. I was like, I could say so much right now, but I'm not. I bit my tongue. If I do say something, it's me that gets the bad end of the stick, right? Like, she's not going to get in trouble. I will, or my career will be over, or I won't be able to be hired anywhere. Like, you know, like I had to really think about what would happen if I was to leave on really bad terms or say something out of character or out of pocket, because I would be labeled differently and it would be very hard for me moving forward. So I knew that and I moved accordingly, and I didn't say anything mean. I wasn't aggressive. I just said okay and did my fake smile and went back to my desk. And you know, immediately when I went back to my desk, I looked over and I saw, you know who I saw? The devil herself, Marcy, giving me an evil ass look. That bitch was out for me. I knew it. You know what? I was like, I gave her a look, went back to my desk, and just went to work. And just didn't talk about it to anyone. Except Amy. I texted her. I actually texted the group chat immediately. I was like, guys, them know like what just happened, because I was like, that's fucking crazy. And they thought so too. Obviously, we had a debrief about it. But honestly, that meeting just put a lot of like, gave me a lot of clarity, honestly. I was like, do I want to sit here and be disrespected? No. So what I did, I started looking for jobs. A week later, I put in my 2 weeks notice. And I was so happy for that exit interview. I'm about to spill all the tea. Like literally a week later, I was like, I'm no longer working here. There's no incentive for me to stay at a company that treats me like this, especially being the only Black person. And I'm not gonna say it's because I was Black, but I don't think it was fair treatment. And there are some things that's happened with previous employees who were Black, and they've told me that they've been treated even worse. So I'm happy I didn't get like a shoe thrown at me or something, because that has happened. But tell me I'm not allowed to take my legally required lunch break. I feel like that's breaking the law. No, I was out of there, bitch. I was like, ain't no way I'm staying at a company that treats me like that. That's actually like crazy. In that day and age, it wasn't even the 2020s yet, but I was just like, I'm not being treated like this. I'm not accepting it. Like there are other opportunities, and there were. I left that company and I've done better. Like honestly, after leaving, I've only gotten better, and I've only worked at better brands, and I've done great things. I met people I never thought I would be in the same. I've been in the same room with some people where I was just like, this is a dream pinch me. I can't believe like this is actually happening to me, right? Like how my career has progressed after that moment. But basically, that's the end of the story. I tell that story basically just to say that don't let no one disrespect you. It don't matter what the company, the person, don't let them disrespect you into thinking that you're not allowed to live, or you're not allowed basic human rights, right? Like eating or taking a lunch break is a basic human right. Like legally in New York State, you're required to take lunch. Actually, you're required. The company can get, again, another fucking lawsuit that I could have made money from. The company is legally obligated to have you take lunch, and when you don't take lunch, they can get in trouble, right? Don't let anyone disrespect you. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not allowed to eat, or you're not allowed to take a lunch break, or that you're not allowed your basic human rights, because you are. You're human just like them. I don't care their position. Obviously, be mindful. Be demure. Of your environment and how you move about things, especially when you are a certain race. And, you know, just read the room. In my situation specifically, I was oftentimes alone, right? What am I saying? I was always the only one. Always the only one. And so I always read the room, because I knew if something was to go down, or not even something was to go down, but if I was to say something or act a certain way, no one would have my back, because I was the only one. I was the only one, and I had to remember that. I only had my own back. And when it's 1 versus 10, you have to assess the situation. So just be mindful. I didn't even finish my makeup. Wow. Honestly, let me finish my makeup and be back. So I finished, barely, just added a little bit. I don't think I'm gonna do lashes today. I don't feel like today's like a lash day, but if you want to hear more, please comment below and let me know, because girl. I got stories. Yeah. I'll be doing more get ready with me's, story times, a few vlogs, just so you guys can see a little bit of my life. If you want to get to know me a little bit more, please follow, like, subscribe. I'm here for you every week, every Monday or Friday. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching my video, and see you guys soon. Bye.